Throughout the film history, blockbuster movies once stood as titans, captivating viewers with their extravagant spectacles and mesmerizing narratives. However, in recent years, a transformation has swept through the film industry, leading to a remarkable decline in the dominance of these cinematic giants. The essence of defining a blockbuster has evolved, and we are left wondering what exactly happened to these colossal films that once ruled the box office. But before we explore, smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Do you recall the movie Blockbuster? It's not the same Blockbuster that's become a mere punchline nowadays. This is the Blockbuster from the good old days, the one you'd visit back when video rental stores were a regular haunt. Can you recall the feeling of walking through those doors, making a beeline for the new releases displayed on the outer walls? And then you'd spot some familiar titles from your previous visits, and your heart would race excitedly when you stumble upon something fresh and unseen. Blockbuster was the go-to destination for movie rentals. It all began in 1985 when many didn't even own a VCR. Remarkably, the company expanded rapidly, and as the 1990s rolled in, Blockbuster had essentially become the gold standard for video rentals. It was a significant part of the movie watching experience during those years. It sounds like a promising business concept. Acquiring many VCHs and renting them can be lucrative. By renting them out, you can gradually recoup your initial investment, and once you've covered your costs, consider selling them for additional profit. Purchasing VCHs in bulk could lead to substantial discounts, increasing your profit margins. Additionally, exploring revenue sharing agreements with studios in case the costs escalate is a wise strategy to ensure long-term sustainability and profitability. Blockbuster was notorious for its late fees, significantly impacting its revenue stream. According to reports, Blockbuster claimed to have generated a staggering $800 million from late fees alone, accounting for approximately 16% of its total revenue. From 2003 to 2005, Blockbuster experienced a significant decline in its market value, losing about 75% of its total market capitalization. Analyzing their revenue trends, it seems that their pinnacle occurred roughly in 2004-2005 timeframe, with a noticeable decline in performance after that. It's challenging to pinpoint the exact moment when this shift occurred. Now, the significant concern is, what happened with Blockbuster? Many people might think that Netflix played a substantial role in this decline. However, we want to clarify that our ultimate conclusion at the end of the video doesn't precisely align with this widespread assumption. Nonetheless, it's worth noting that Netflix managed to weather the storm while Blockbuster didn't. We should investigate the factors that set these two companies apart and understand the divergence. Specifically, we're referring to the traditional Netflix model where they sent DVDs to your doorstep, as this was their primary offering during that era. It's important to emphasize that their streaming service started roughly a decade ago. With Netflix, the customer experience is undeniably more convenient, but it does come with certain limitations. In contrast, Blockbuster offers greater freedom, allowing customers to access movies instantly without waiting for mail deliveries. This aspect largely boils down to personal preference. However, the other significant distinction is that Netflix operates on a subscription-based model while Blockbuster charges on a per-movie basis. Netflix holds a significant advantage in this regard. For the amount you typically spend on a single weekly trip to Blockbuster, you can enjoy an entire month of unlimited rentals with Netflix. It might seem like a straightforward solution for Blockbuster to introduce subscription services for unlimited in-store rentals to stay competitive, but the reality is more complex than it appears. The situation is far from straightforward. Nowadays, many perceive Blockbuster as a group of individuals who miss the shifting landscape of video rentals, often seen as being out of touch with the evolving industry trends. There's a prevalent perception among the public that Blockbuster was fixated solely on in-store rentals and dismissed the concept of mail and streaming services with a scoff. However, it's important to note that this narrative isn't entirely accurate, and you might have encountered this perspective before. In 2000, Blockbuster decided to turn down the opportunity to acquire Netflix for a mere $50 million. This decision, now widely recognized as a costly mistake, is particularly significant considering Netflix's current multi-billion-dollar valuation. At the time, Blockbuster chose to compete with Netflix, believing it could emerge victorious in the battle for supremacy in the rental industry. They didn't acquire the company due to neglecting Netflix's established business model. Instead, they believed that attaining it at the particular juncture wasn't the most strategic decision. In hindsight, it might be considered one of their worst decisions. However, at that time, it was nearly impossible for them to predict future outcomes and fully grasp the implications of their choice. During that very same period, they entered into a 20-year agreement for streaming video on demand via fiber optic technology, which turned out to be significantly more expensive than the potential cost of acquiring Netflix. The only issue was that the deal was with Enron, and unfortunately, the technology didn't pan out as expected. Enron's subsequent bankruptcy spelled the end of the project, and it ended up being a missed opportunity that could have potentially given Blockbuster a significant advantage over Netflix. Further evidence indicates that Blockbuster was aware of the mail and streaming trends. Their annual report submitted to the SEC consistently included a section dedicated to identifying potential threats to the company's future. Nearly every year that Netflix existed, Blockbuster's annual reports acknowledged them as a potential threat, along with other emerging video-on-demand services. The 2001 report even discussed Blockbuster's active efforts to penetrate the market by forming a partnership with DirecTV. This underscores the point that Blockbuster was not merely disregarding these developments, but was indeed conscious of them and taking proactive steps in the early stages. But returning to why offering subscriptions similar to Netflix isn't straightforward, those rental revenue figures presented incorporate a significant component known as late fees. It's challenging to gather if the customer maintains an unlimited rental subscription. They were enjoying a substantial income stream from late fees and were hesitant to transition to a model that would entirely eradicate these fees. In 2004, they introduced a subscription service called Blockbuster Movie Pass. The following year, they made a significant announcement by eliminating late fees. However, it's worth noting that if customers continued renting movies through the traditional method, late fees still served a purpose. Late fee incentivized customers to return movies on time when renting through the conventional way. These fees serve as motivation for prompt movie returns. Their system had some issues, particularly with its grace period policy. Initially, it gave customers a certain amount of time to view a movie, but after a while, it abruptly declared ownership and billed the total movie price. Over time, it seemed like they were determined to expand in every conceivable market. Towards the conclusion of 2006, they introduced Blockbuster Total Access, an online subscription service just like Netflix, allowing customers to rent multiple movies concurrently. They could either receive these movies via mail or exchange them at a nearby Blockbuster store. While it garnered substantial subscribers initially, its popularity dwindled rapidly, likely because it came with a higher price tag than Netflix. Sadly, in 2010, Blockbuster faced financial difficulties and filed for bankruptcy. Dish Network acquired the company shortly after, but their attempts to revitalize Blockbuster didn't yield significant results. They experimented with integrating it into their satellite service, but it appears they have largely abandoned these efforts, unable to revive the once mighty Blockbuster brand. This is our perspective on the situation. The traditional model of renting movies in a physical store and bringing them home has become outdated. It started declining when DVD mail rentals gained popularity and streaming services have rendered it obsolete. Blockbuster's favor, once highly sought after, lost its relevance, and its survival would have required a complete overhaul of its business model. It's not surprising that completely restructuring a business is a formidable challenge. They needed to venture into the video on demand and video by mail industry to stay relevant. Blockbuster attempted to partner with Enron DirecTV and gradually started offering their services. However, they didn't dive headfirst into this transformation. Instead, they cautiously tested the waters. Their strategy becomes apparent when you consider their ongoing expansion of physical stores. They experimented with various services to determine what would resonate with consumers and generate profits. Blockbuster had foreseen the shift towards online services as the future, but it appears they underestimated just how rapidly that future would arrive. They may not have initially grasped the importance of taking action early, but it had become too late by the time they realized it. However, it's important to note that they shouldn't be labeled foolish for their approach. In the early 2000s, they were operating in an era that demanded swift adaptation. But unfortunately, they weren't fully aware of this need, which was a situation many companies faced. It's worth acknowledging that not all companies are built to endure indefinitely, and perhaps it was simply the natural course of events for Blockbuster to exit the stage gracefully. It is interesting to see how times have changed. Once known for its DVD rental services, Netflix has also decided to exit that side of the business. The official announcement on their dedicated DVD Twitter account indicates they'll end their DVD rental services on September 29, 2023. Do you have any favorite memories from your trips to Blockbuster? Maybe you remember the excitement of picking out a Friday night movie or the frustration of late fees. Share your Blockbuster stories with us. We'd love to hear them. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you can stay updated with more insightful content.